on him. Various elves adopted 5-month-old baby Humphrey and took him to live in his 400-acre farm in South Africa. When Humphrey was a baby, everything was fine, but a lot of people warned Marius how dangerous Humphrey can become when he gets bigger. Marius ignored everyone and treated Humphrey like a pet. He would even ride on his back for fun and showed zero fear of this hippo. But it wasn't long until Humphrey got bigger and he eventually reached 1.2 tons and attacked Marius's nephew and almost killed him.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing alright, man. If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. We break down scary and creepy videos, man, on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG videos, Facebook, man, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank my supporters, man, who's tapping into the channel, subscribing, hitting that post notification bell, hitting that like button each and every video. I really appreciate your support, man. Like I said, that helps push us in the algorithm, so continue to do that, man. We're going to take off and grow. Found this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best. Let's seek the truth.
15-year-old Brigham Hawkins is recovering after a black bear attacked him while he was vacationing with his family at a cabin in Alpine, Arizona. Now, this is an older picture, but I will show you what he looked like after the attack. He was alone at the cabin watching YouTube on the TV when the bear came in through the side door, came up behind him, reached around, and started swiping at his face. He has a rare neurological condition, so he can't move very fast, but after swiping him in the face, the bear turned around and left. Except it came back and started swiping him in the arms. Brigham's older brother heard him screaming, and he, along with their father, ran back to the cabin to see what was going on, and thankfully they were able to chase the bear away. I'm going to give you a trigger warning before I show you the picture because it's a little graphic. You can see one of the swipes there across his nose, and there's another one on his arm. He was transported to a local hospital and treated for the wounds. They also gave him a rabies vaccine. Law enforcement killed the bear about 120 feet away from the cabin, and its body was sent to a state lab for examinations and rabies testing. Officials want to warn everybody, if you happen to come across a black bear that is coming towards you, don't run from it. Back away slowly while maintaining eye contact with the bear and do things to make yourself appear bigger than you are. And they say that you can also throw things and yell and try to scare him away. Thank God the brother heard him screaming, or they could be planning a funeral right now.
There's a dark secret.
Man, always be aware, and I learned some new facts today. Seekers. I've been seeing people, man. I've seen a couple of videos, you know, people, they be, I guess, like, they try to run away from the bears and stuff. I never heard they said, stand your ground, throw things, yell. Hey, man, we learned some survival skills today, man. Tap in with us.
Secret to why we celebrate our birthdays. I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory or if it's true, but it blew my mind.
Okay.
So according to the stories and what I've heard, is you know how we chant, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you.
The song.
So chanting that is actually a ritual against us. Oh, these noodles taste like your mom's booty. And you know how I like your mom's booty. I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out though. You notice how happy birthday is like a chant. You light the candles, turn off a light, you all get in a circle, you start chanting, and then you blow out the candles. Tell me that's not portraying a ritual experience.
He's spitting.
Now, let me tell you what I heard the ritual does. But first, what month and day were you born? Let me know down below. I want to know what sign you are. Me, I was born August 29th, and I'm a Virgo. Anyways, it is said that when we do that, it's a ritual that's sealing our fate to grow older. And that's why some people believe that people who don't celebrate their birthdays tend to look younger than they actually are. Now look, this is all conspiracy, and it's circling around the internet right now. But it's kind of scary to think about.
I would preface this story.
You guys believe that?
Like this is my actual worst nightmare. It's Julie Watts and her husband Jonathan, and on December 2nd, 2017, Julie was home alone when her phone pinged, detecting motion in the downstairs camera. This was the frame that was shown on her phone. Before we dive in, if you're a fan of true crime, make sure to go click the link in my bio to listen to my podcast, Creep Time the Podcast, on Spotify or Apple. She saw this photo and she immediately jumps into action. She locks her bedroom door, she calls 911, she starts texting her husband Jonathan, who's all the way in Minneapolis on business. After a few minutes, she gets another alert on her phone that there was motion detected in the downstairs bedroom. This was the photo sent to her phone. I know it's hard to see, but if you flip this picture upside down, it is somebody who is back crawling out of a closet. Julie did not survive this attack, as when police arrived, they came upon a gruesome display where Julie's hands had been taken. Police had no idea who could have done this. This was the final text exchange that was surfaced from her phone.
Man, that final message.
This is why it's so important that you get into the correct Uber. On March 29th, 2019, 21-year-old Samantha Josephson entered an Uber that she thought was hers, and she was never seen again. On this day, Samantha met with some friends at the Bird Dog Bar and left to go home at around 2 a.m. She ended up waiting alone in front of the bar for her Uber ride. And at 2:09, she's seen on surveillance entering this black Chevy Impala. Samantha's boyfriend, who lived in another state, was tracking her ride and noticed that the driver was going the opposite direction from her house. He tried to call her, but after getting no response, he fell asleep, and the next morning, Samantha's friends called him and asked him if he knew where she was because she never made it to work. They reported Samantha missing and asked to see surveillance footage from the bar and noticed that Samantha entered the car of 24-year-old Nathaniel Rowland. That night, Nathaniel locked his doors after Samantha entered his car, and he took her to a secluded area and stabbed her more than 100 times. He then went to an ATM and tried to withdraw money from her card twice. The next day, Nathaniel's car was spotted by a police officer. He was arrested and was eventually sentenced to life in prison.
Man, see, stories like this makes me wary of Uber, Lyft, all those services. I rode in them like a couple of times, when you had to, but when I get in one, man, I'm always aware, bro. Always by the door in case something weird try to go down and they try to do something to me. I'm like, I refuse to have something happen to me in the Uber Lyft. I can't go like that. Tell me down below if you guys have any weird experience, man, with those Uber Lyft rides. Edit. You guys know we call them out when we see them. That's definitely an edit.
Get ready with me while I tell you how this woman threw her boyfriend's private part in the trash.
What?
On May 14th of this year, around 8:50 p.m., 32-year-old Shengting Hua had called officers because she believed that her boyfriend was dead, but she could not provide a reason why. Officers with the Grand Junction Police Department had responded to that call, and they went to the Wood Spring Suites on Main Street. The dispatcher stated that while Shengting was on the line, she was given CPR instructions and she was hysterical. When officers arrived at the hotel room, they saw a bed with a large amount of blood smeared all over it, and Shengting was crying and upset. That's when they spotted a naked, unresponsive man, and he was lying on his back and his feet were under the bed. The officers then started to do CPR on the man, and that's when they noticed that his private part was missing. Officers were looking around the hotel room. They ended up finding his severed private part in the trash can that was in the bathroom. The man was then pronounced dead at the scene. Shengting had told officers that she found out she was pregnant, and her boyfriend were arguing on who the father could be. She stated that while they were arguing, she did stab him in the leg, but she was not trying to kill him. She only stabbed him because she was angry. Once she had stabbed him, she then cut off his private part. At that point, she didn't think that he was in any kind of pain, so she went to the store, bought some beer, antibiotics, and rubbing alcohol. As the day went on, she noticed that he started to feel cold and she had feared that he might die, so she gave him some water, ibuprofen, and greens. Shengting was arrested and charged with second-degree murder and will appear in court on May 22nd.
This man lost his life after his pet hippo turned on him. Marius Els adopted 5-month-old baby Humphrey and took him to live in his 400-acre farm in South Africa. When Humphrey was a baby, everything was fine, but a lot of people warned Marius how dangerous Humphrey can become when he gets bigger. Marius ignored everyone and treated Humphrey like a pet. He would even ride on his back for fun and showed zero fear of this hippo. But it wasn't long until Humphrey got bigger and he eventually reached 1.2 tons and attacked Marius's nephew and almost killed him. But that's not all. In 2011, Humphrey attacked Marius in front of his family and took his life. This all happened when Marius called Humphrey to eat, and according to Marius's family, Humphrey's demeanor was different on this day, basically showing signs of aggression. decapitation. Marius believed that his pet hippo would never betray him, so he ignored all these signs. When he continued to call Humphrey out of the water to eat, Humphrey suddenly stormed out and attacked Marius, biting into his body multiple times and then dragging him into the water. And this all happened in front of his family, the same people that warned Marius about Humphrey. What's crazy is that even though hippos look super sweet and cute compared to other wild animals, they actually kill more people each year than any other mammal on this planet. Just something to keep in mind.
I never knew that, man. Like I said, you see that picture of that baby hippo, you think it's all sweet and innocent, man. But people at the end of the day, they gotta realize like these are wild animals. You're trying to keep them, trying to domesticate them as pets. It never ends well. We just saw a case of that. I saw, a picture on Twitter. They be like, how, when our hippos be all sweet and innocent as a baby, but they really some menaces.
This is a personal case a viewer emailed over to me asking to share, and the purpose for this video is to raise awareness on DA and GV. And I apologize in advance for the severe censoring as I have to. On September 1st, 2023, a girl named Faith and her boyfriend Isaiah were fast asleep while his two cousins and older brother were staying over. In the middle of the night, Faith was jolted awake by the sound of a gun going off. Her and her boyfriend ran to cover until they realized that the gun that was fired happened inside the apartment and was from Isaiah's older brother, Ronald Adams. Ronald had his cousin. The couple brought him to the hospital in an attempt to save his life, but were unsuccessful, and Faith and Isaiah were questioning why Ronald would take someone's life. In the email, Faith let me know Ronald was under the influence of shrooms during the crime. Now, let me be clear, research shows mushrooms do not make a person act out in violence, and Faith is advocating for Ronald to receive life in prison. Since then, her and Isaiah have been responsible for over $7,000 in fees due to the crime happening in her apartment. If you want to help out, here's her GoFundMe, and what are your thoughts on this case? Let me know in the comments below.
Don't do drugs. That's what I took from that. You never know, man. Especially from... Stay away from stuff like that.
Mother is suing Snapchat for $10 million after her 13-year-old son committed suicide on his family's driveway. Timothy Barnett's case was initially labeled as a suicide and closed by local police. But 6 months later, messages were uncovered which showed her son sending money to a stranger in exchange for not posting explicit images of him on Snapchat. Despite evidence of extortion, local police closed the case and said it was not their responsibility to figure out why Timothy decided to take his life. Since then, his mother has gone to the FBI to help her catch the person who drove Timothy to his sudden death and filed a lawsuit against Snapchat for playing a role in their tragic loss.
Insanely dark facts and things that have happened
Crazy.
at Disney World. When Disney had first opened way back in the 70s, Walt Disney had originally hired spies. He would station them around the park so they could eavesdrop on the guests and get a feel for how they actually liked the experience. It's pretty much common knowledge that Disney does have an underground tunnel system, but did you know that that system runs a full 9 acres under the park, and people have actually gotten lost down there?
Damn.
Roughly 10 or so years ago, there was an incident that was reported near Space Mountain when a guest tried to sneak on a duffel bag. When employees found out and they asked to search it, they found inside a 6-month-old baby. Why this parent was trying to sneak a baby onto a roller coaster, we do not know. In a lesser-known incident that Disney actually covered up pretty well, in 2004, a 38-year-old cast member who was playing Pluto was run over by the Beauty and the Beast float during the opening parade. Although clearly deceased at the scene, Disney refused to declare the death until the body was brought outside of the park.
Things people do for money, man. Doesn't even shock me anymore.
Alright guys, let's talk about the Dear David incident. The Dear David incident is when Adam Ellis tweeted about a ghost haunting him inside of his apartment. He tweeted, "So my apartment is currently being haunted by the ghost of a dead child and he's trying to kill me." He gives very detailed accounts of what he sees during sleep paralysis. He states he sees a child with a dented head and that the child is trying to hurt him. The next day, he dreamed about a little girl and she was explaining who this creature was. She said its name was David. She stated he only appears at midnight and you can ask him 2 questions if you preface it with Dear David, and if you ask him a third, he kills you. Before he got photo proof of David, he drew a sketch of a dented-headed child. Then one day he managed to snag this picture and this picture. Even his 2 cats were gathering by a door where he saw David. They could just tell something was on the other side. In one instance, he went to take a Polaroid of his lit hallway and it was completely dark. A user found this face inside of it though.
Ooh.
This man had a plethora of evidence, posted it all on Twitter. Comment for part 2.
What do we think about Dear David? Some bad energy? Or something else? Even the cat's by the door, man. Even they were picking that up. You know it's different when an animal can kind of pick up that type of spirit. Edit.
This is such a crazy story. In 1998, 17-year-old Omar bin Omran went missing while on his way to school in the city of Jaffa, Algeria. After his disappearance, his family assumed he passed away during the civil war that was going on at the time. While everyone accepted the fact that Omar was gone forever, his dog, on the other hand, knew where he was the entire time. 26 long years go by and his family makes a crazy discovery. Omar, who is now 45 years old, was found. At around 8 p.m. on that day, police arrived to the home and walked to the back of the house and lifted up what seems to be a hidden entryway, and they found Omar in a cellar where this man kept sheep, and Omar was located and was sitting under a pile of hay. There's this blurry video that was taken of him while he was being rescued.
Imagine slicing your
Crazy.
face up with a chainsaw. Well, that's exactly what happened to this man here, Bill Singleton. Now, Bill was 68 years old at the time, and when all of this happened, he was home alone. And on that day, he decided he was going to take his trusty chainsaw and cut down some firewood. Now, this is something that he had done quite regularly, so he was very familiar with how to use the chainsaw. But in the middle of cutting down through some trees, he realized that the tip of the chainsaw struck a very large tree, which forced the chainsaw to repel backwards. Before he realized exactly what was happening, the chainsaw went right into his face. Immediately, he said he felt and heard the crack of his jaw as the blade went right through it. And as you can imagine, the pain was completely unbearable, and all he could think to do was to grab a handkerchief he had and cover his face. Although there was blood gushing everywhere, he did not fully realize the extent of his injuries at this point. And also at this point, he was not able to call anyone just because of the state he was in, so he did the only thing he could think of, and that was to get to help by himself. By some miracle, he was able to crawl his way to where he had parked his truck, get in, and again, by another miracle, drive his way to the closest hospital. Now, while he was driving, he did manage to get there with one hand while using the other to keep the handkerchief on his face.
Man.
He also instinctively knew that he should not look at himself in the mirror because that would have just sent him spiraling. And even doctors agreed that it was a very good thing that he did not look at himself in the mirror in that state because it could have potentially sent him into shock. Now, there are photos of him in the hospital with a bunch of stitches where you can see the extent of his injuries, but they are very graphic. But because I can't show you those pictures, I will show you this, and it's a 3D model of what the injuries looked like. Essentially what happened is that the blade of the chainsaw had sliced through the middle of his face, cutting down his mouth and tongue before knocking out his front teeth and slicing right through his jaw. Now, thankfully, doctors were able to save his life considering that he barely missed a very vital artery. And Bill would go on to make a full recovery, and you can barely see the scar on his face at this point. But this is exactly why I will never go around a chainsaw.
Neither will I. I'll just be more careful around them now. I'm just like, that's a crazy story. But do you guys know the willpower you have to crawl and then drive and hold it all at the same time? Your mind's spiraling, man. You just gotta be calm, focused, and centered. Try to ignore the pain. It's one of the most bizarre stories, and he survived too.
So do you guys want to learn about a creature that's actually scarier than the Native American skinwalker? A lot of you have not heard of this, and is actually believed to be the reason why so many people go missing in the national forest. Check this out. Let me know what you think, and let me know if you have actually heard about this.
Here we go.
Alright, so unfortunately, the original origins of the flesh gates, as what are these creatures called, are not known. A lot of people believe that they're cursed spirits, evil spirits, or an unknown cryptid that we haven't discovered. And they like to wreak havoc, and actually people, when they encounter these, most people don't survive to tell the tale. They are also shapeshifters, And unfortunately for a lot of us that live in the United States, they have been sighted in national forests where a lot of people go missing and disappearing without a trace. So one of the things that we are warned through Native Americans is never to whistle when you're out in the woods. And there's a reason for that. This particular creature actually is attracted to people when they're whistling out and about in the woods. So in general, they are predatory against humans, and many believe that they lure people by attracting you and calling you by name or trying to mimic somebody you actually love. Let me know if you want to learn more about this in part 2.
That's just a different version of a skinwalker, right? That's what I got took from that. The skinwalkers, creatures like this, man, we be seeing sightings. You guys believe that? Or you guys think they're just stories?
This girl took the life of her whole family so she could be with a supposed 300-year-old werewolf.
What the f?
This is Jasmine Richardson, and she lived with her family in Medicine Hat, Canada. She was known as being very joyful and outgoing. Jasmine's whole personality changed when she met 23-year-old Jeremy at a punk rock concert. Both started to date despite the huge age difference. Jasmine had joined a website called vampirefreaks.com and fell in love with the goth lifestyle. She would wear heavy makeup to make it seem like she was much older than she really was. At the age of 13, Jeremy had identified himself as a 300-year-old werewolf, and he would wear this necklace that had a little jar and it had blood inside of it. Supposedly, Jeremy would go out to the moon, howl at it, and that's when he would turn into a werewolf. Jasmine's parents, Mark and Deborah, found out about her relationship with Jeremy and him being 23 years old and her only 12 years old.
What the f?
And they forbid her from seeing him. Jasmine and Jeremy did not take this lightly, and they were coming up with a plan to take the life of her family. On April 23rd of 2006, Jasmine and Jeremy went through with their plan and took the life of her family, her parents, and her brother.
Damn.
Following day, a young boy went to Jasmine's house to hang out with her 8-year-old brother, and when he was waiting at the door, he could see in the window that there was a dead body, so he ran back to his mom's house, told his mom, and she is the one who informed police. Once law enforcement arrived at the scene, they noticed that the whole family was murdered. Went up to the 8-year-old boy's room, and that's when they saw him just laying there with his lightsaber in his hand. Law enforcement also noticed that Jasmine was the only one missing. Jasmine and Jeremy were both arrested for the crime. Jasmine was found guilty of 3 counts of first-degree murder, and since she was under the age of 18, she was only sentenced to 6 years in jail, and after that, she followed 4 years of supervision in the community. Jeremy was also found guilty of 3 counts of first-degree murder, and he was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In 2016, Jasmine was released from prison and is walking free.
Who is the...
Because they're that young, man, they really can't go to the full extent of the crimes, but... Like 300... How does people come up with these things in their head? He was a 300-year-old werewolf. And that huge age gap between them. See, when discuss the name and talk about, that's just like, man, people are weird beings.
The youngest serial killer of all time. He has been called sadistic, remorseless, and committed his first murder at the age of only 7. Amarjit Sada was born in Bihar, India in 1998. Considered a loner and born into a poor family, the addition of his baby sister to the family made it much harder for his parents to make ends meet. When his aunt came to pay a visit with his 6-year-old cousin, he was left in charge while his mother and aunt went to the market. That was the day that his life took a dark and very twisted turn. It started off with him slapping and pinching his cousin before it escalated to him strangling her to death. When the parents returned, the girl's whereabouts were questioned and he immediately admitted to the murder, as well as showing them the location of the body. It was decided that this was simply a family matter and that it should not be reported. But it was less than a year later that he would strike again. This time, his own baby sister was the target, lifting her from the cot and strangling her. He was discovered by his mother, and he said he did it, just like that. But this time, neighbors actually discovered the crime, and his parents pleaded them to keep it a secret. His last victim was horrifically a 6-month-old baby from the village. The mother of the baby told police that she left the baby sleeping while she went and did chores, and when she came back, the baby was gone, and a police investigation was immediately started. Hours after the police started looking for the baby, Sada freely admitted to killing her by hitting her with bricks and strangling her, and then even led police to the shallow grave he attempted to bury her in. The young boy was taken into custody and interviewed, where it was reported that he showed absolutely no remorse, even smiling throughout the interview. He was much too young to send to prison or even give the death penalty, so he was sent to a juvenile home. Psychiatrists determined that he received much pleasure from harming others. The world's youngest serial killer was given a new identity and released in 2016 when he turned 18 years old, and his current whereabouts are completely unknown.
The German pedophile campsite is one of the most disturbing stories I've ever researched. A pedophile ring was operating at a campsite in Germany from 1998 to 2018.
What the fuck?
What was happening was a group of men was luring children to this campsite. Disturbingly, the kids' ages ranged from 3 years old to 14 years old. And once they were at this campsite, the cameras were turned on and the children were violently sexually assaulted. All on video. Once the kids were there, they were promised laptops, horseback riding lessons, bicycles if they complied with the abuse. And sadly, for 2 decades, nobody listened to these children. Some of the kids' parents even tried to go to authorities, but they never looked into this seriously.
Why?
This disgusting group of men lured a group of underage boys at one point to a garden shed, and they then kept them locked up in there with no food or water for days. And these men would take turns going into the shed and assaulting each child one by one on camera. This footage was eventually uploaded to the dark web, and hundreds, thousands of pedophiles across the world clicked on this, downloaded this, and saved this to their sick collections. So like I said, this was a hardcore pedophile ring being operated at this campsite. Now, the authorities claim that they caught all of the men responsible, but who really knows? This was a period of 20 years that these crimes happened over. And there was a recorded 450 different sexual assaults on children. And those are just the assaults that the authorities actually know about. But disturbingly, we still don't know what these perpetrators look like, and the public doesn't even know their last name. That's because German privacy laws protect them. So this is Adrian V., one of the pedophile ring's ringleaders. But in every photo of these guys online, their faces are blurred or they're obscured. And like I said, their full identities have never been released. I don't know what the point of that is, but it's got to be one of the dumbest laws that I have ever read about.
I agree.
Oh yeah, and you ready to get angry? The 2 men at the top of this pedophile empire who had victimized 23 children over 450 times, a lot of those times on camera.
What happened?
They had destroyed 23 different childhoods. They were sentenced to 14 years in prison. Another one was sentenced to 12 years in prison, and another one was sentenced to 10 years in prison. So for that many assaults on camera, footage that's shared to the dark web to thousands of other pedophiles, for destroying the childhoods and lives of 23 children, which are going to be people, adults, the maximum sentence received was 14 years.
How?
This should upset you, this should offend you. And this is definitely concerning because just a day ago, Germany lowered the minimum time that you need to spend in prison 1 year to 6 months if they find CP or CSAM on any of your devices. So they just recently decided to punish pedophiles less severely. If you want to hear more true crime stories, listen to the podcast that I co-host with my wife, Courtney, Murder in America. It's available now on all streaming platforms.
I'm telling you, man. Justice system, it's like trying to tilt towards another way where it should be here. It's like right there or right there. It's never can find an equal spot. Makes no sense, man. This world we living in, seekers. If you guys stay with me to the end of the video, you're true seekers seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that post notification bell. That's how we could grow in this algorithm, man. Also, follow me on my social medias down below so we can stay connected as a community. Like I said, you guys can see me videos if you guys want what you want me to check out. So, guys, get on that. Like I said, we're doing daily uploads every single day. Hopefully, you guys enjoy them, man. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna continue to get better with each and every single video. I'm out. Peace, YouTube. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing alright, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, man, what we do is we break down scary and creepy videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank my supporters, man, who's tapping into the channel, subscribing, hitting that post notification bell, man. You're helping us grow the community known as the Seekers. So I really appreciate the support. Let's do that. Let's continue to grow. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best out here. Let's seek the truth.
Why you should never go camping without a weapon.
Okay.
19-year-old Olga Moskalivyova was camping near a river in Russia with her stepfather Igor when a mother bear attacked them. Seconds later, the 500-pound brown bear...
Things humans were never meant to see. A man was struck by lightning, and this is the amazing pattern that it left.
Whoa.
I bet you've never seen this before. This is how a clam walks. It
hell
sticks
is
out
that?
its body and pushes itself forward. This is what chairlifts looked like in the 60s. There was no safety bar, so you had to be careful not to move at all.
Nah.
This giant fiery pit looks like it's from another planet, but it actually exists here on Earth, and it has been burning for more than 60 years straight. This is what movie and TV shows look like after special effects are added, and this is what they look like before.
Here's some random facts
Crazy.
that will mess with the way you see the world. Astronaut means star sailor. Astro meaning star and not meaning sailor. That is such a cool name. High heels were originally made for butchers so they wouldn't get blood on the bottom of their shoes. The first ever webcam was created to check on a coffee pot just to make sure it didn't catch on fire. In Switzerland, it's illegal to own just one guinea pig. You need at least 2 or more. I think it's because they get depressed if they're alone. I'm not even joking. Australia is wider than the moon. How does that work? The Eiffel Tower is taller in the summer. This is because metal expands when it gets hot, right? A jiffy is an actual unit of time. It's 1/1000th of a second. In Japan, there's over 200 flavors of Kit Kats.
No.
I didn't know that there were 200 flavors, period. Queen Elizabeth was a trained mechanic in the military. That's a baller move, though. Become a mechanic and then a queen. Do you know the only letter that doesn't appear in a U.S. state name? I'll give you 3 seconds. Ready? 3,
What is it?
2, 1. The letter Q. These are the most rare.
Whoa, what the heck? He's not. Now he's spitting. There's nothing in Q that has the U.S. state something in that name, or whatever he said, bro. It's crazy to think about, man. These facts, man. Y'all gotta tap in with us, man. We learn the new real facts every day.
People to ever exist. Up first is Samson Burns. He's had a genetic disease since birth, which makes him look a lot older than he is. And people who have this disease, their life expectancy is only 15 years. Samson Burns was known for his motivational speeches and his amazing fight with the disease. He lived until he was 17, which baffled people because the life expectancy for this disease was only 15 years.
Define the
Up
odds.
next is Paul Carrison. Paul Carrison was known worldwide for his bluish skin, which was caused by a disease which changes the color of the skin and the organs.
Whoa.
But he sadly passed away a few years ago for reasons unrelated to his illness.
What do you guys think happened? I need your theories down
Do
below.
you guys remember the case of Lacey Fletcher, the woman who melted into her couch? Well, the people responsible for this have been sentenced. But let me remind you guys a little bit about 36-year-old Lacey. In 2022, she was found deceased on her family's couch, and apparently she sat there for 12 years without moving. So how exactly does that happen? Well, Lacey had severe autism and she was nonverbal, so she solely depended on her parents as her caregiver. But after years of neglect, she weighed less than 100 pounds. She was found covered in maggots at her own waist. And again, this is how the couch looked like when they found Lacey deceased. Lacey's cause of death was acute medical neglect, and ultimately her parents, Sheila and Clay Fletcher, were each sentenced this month to 40 years, but will only be serving 20 years in prison. Now, what's outrageous is that her parents, who went from this to this, testified that their daughter refused any medical attention. How can someone who couldn't communicate and completely relied on them refuse medical attention? A 36-year-old weighing less than 100 pounds. Let that sink in. This tragedy could have been prevented. There is no excuse.
There isn't. It says she refused medical attention. Think. Use your brain. Think. She can communicate non-verbally. People have to be better,
Common
man.
things you never knew the real purpose of. Part 7. First off, you know that drawer underneath your oven where most people put their pots and pans?
Yeah.
Well, the real reason that it's there is, for example, if you're having guests over and they're late, you can put your food in there and it'll keep it warm. If you've ever been confused on how much pasta you should cook for just yourself to eat, well, that hole in the middle of a spaghetti spoon isn't actually for draining water. It's for putting uncooked pasta through it so you get the perfect serving for one person. Have you ever wondered why there's a little button on your seatbelt? It's actually to stop the buckle from going past it, so it'll always be in the right spot when you go to buckle it up. Those little buttons on your jeans aren't totally useless. They're called rivets. Rivets are placed in areas on jeans that receive the most wear and tear stress. So they actually help you prevent your jeans from ripping apart at the seams. Many people think this dot on the back of an iPhone is for flash, but it's actually a microphone used for recording when using the back camera. The tags on bread packages come in 5 different colors, representing 5 of the 7 different days of the week. And here's what each one equates to. And the reason they don't have Wednesday or Sunday is because most shops don't get deliveries on these days. And the hole on the bottom of a lock isn't actually to pick it. It's meant to drain any captured liquid to prevent it from rusting.
Normal looking video.
Man, the thing about the bread one is interesting, man, because they've always had, sometimes I be saying, like, why do they have, like, different colors, the little tags that hold the bread together? So I'm guessing, I thought this was to show the freshness of it, but I guess it's just to organize it. The more you know, man. The more you know.
With disturbing backstories, part 1. In this home video on Thanksgiving Day 1990 is a father recording his son Jeffrey, who can be seen talking to his father and flipping through a magazine.
Well, I've been surviving mostly on McDonald's food. It's just so much easier just to pop into the restaurant. But yeah, like
don't tell me that's what I think it is.
You have to start eating at home more.
But what nobody knew at the time is the man in the video, Jeffrey Dahmer, had already unalived 7 of his victims and later became one of the biggest serial killers in history.
Ooh. You never know who you talking to, man.
Crazy facts about things in our world. Mohammed is the most popular name worldwide. A teaspoon of a neutron star weighs 10 million tons.
Damn.
The Great Wall of China takes 18 months to walk.
That's
the
cap.
human body is made up of 60% water.
18 months to walk the Great Wall in China? I gotta look that up, man. I'm calling cap on that one. I don't believe that, man. That's cap. That's cap, bro. In the words of Soldier Boy, that's cap.
Alright guys, let's talk about Slender Man. Slender Man is a 7-foot tall humanoid creature that has no face and is known for kidnapping children and brainwashing older people into being his little servants. He's mainly found out in the woods and you'll rarely ever see him outside of the woods. He's also known to be around kids' playgrounds, lurking in the woods, just waiting for them. If one of them happens to wander off into the woods, he snatches them up and they're never seen again. What's very disturbing about Slender Man is he will target his victims for years and drive them to insanity with paranoia. One way to know if he's nearby is if your electronic devices are having malfunctions. For example, if your phone turns off randomly or if the radio station's giving a lot of static. Back to the stalking though, you can see him right here in the background waiting for those kids. Some of them are even around him, and you can see all of his other arms coming out from behind him. Usually when he grabs the victim, he will vanish with them very quickly and you'll find them impaled on a tree with all of their organs missing. And to this day, nobody knows what he truly does with his victims or the organs.
Isn't Slender Man based off the video game though, so... That's like
Imagine finding out that the pastor from your church did this. On August 1975, 8-year-old Gretchen Harrington was walking to Bible study in Pennsylvania, but she never made it. Gretchen's father became extremely worried when she was nowhere to be found. And that's when Pastor David Zantra called police to report Gretchen missing. When investigators interviewed the pastor, he was providing details of what Gretchen was wearing that day, even though she never made it to the church.
Weird.
So how did he know? The pastor denied knowing anything about Gretchen's disappearance, and 2 months later, her skeletal remains were found at a nearby creek. Gretchen's cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. But 50 years later, on January of this year, police interviewed a woman who was friends with the pastor's daughter in the 70s and discovered something from her diary entry around that time. The little girl at the time explains in her diary that the pastor used to touch her when she slept over his daughter's house. The pastor, who is now 83 years old, moved to Georgia after Gretchen's murder. And when police came to arrest him, him, he admitted to everything. He said that on that morning of 1975, he saw Gretchen walking to Bible study, so he offered to give her a ride, but instead of taking her to the church, he took her to a wooded area and told her to take off her clothes, and when she said no, that's when he took her life.
Maybe he's a pastor too. That's just sick, man. These TikToks are exposing our reality wide open. But it took them like 50 years, and it goes to show you, man, justice will be served no matter the time. Maybe 1, 2, 3 years, 50 years, 60 years. It'll come out to get you, man, in the end. Karma's a real thing. Goes around, comes around.
This is maybe the scariest urban legend I've ever heard, and it ended up being true. Back in the 1970s, there was this terrifying fun house in Long Beach, California called The Laugh in the Dark. And there was always this urban legend that all the mannequins inside were fake, except for one. Also, mind you, this is what this week's episode is about, so if you don't want spoilers, just listen to the episode. This urban legend came to be because there was one mannequin inside that just looked wrong. All the other ones looked fake, but this one in particular looked way too human. And a bunch of the kids also said the area that the mannequin was in just smelled really, really bad.
No way, that's real.
So a few years go by, and one day a film crew comes in and is using Laugh in the Dark for a film set. The director's lining up a shot, and he just doesn't like the way this one mannequin looks in frame. So he goes over to a crew member and he's like, hey, can you just move this out of the shot? So the crew member goes over and starts moving the mannequin when its arm pops off. And inside of the mannequin's arm is human bone.
What
the
the?
kids had been totally right. The mannequin was a mummified body. There's so much more to this story, like who the person was and how they got there, and I talk about the whole thing this week on the episode.
Scary facts
follow up on that
ruin
one.
your day. Do you ever wake up around 3 a.m. for no apparent reason?
Sometimes.
They say that if you wake up around 2 to 3 a.m. for no reason, that there's a 90% chance something was staring at you.
No way.
I was tagging this and people want to know if it's true or false. This is false, this is rubbish. But let me give you a fact, yeah? The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, whoever wakes up at night, suddenly wakes up at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, he should say this dua, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. So all this dua here, you can do a screenshot so you can know what to say. You can say it in English or Arabic, yeah? Whoever does that, Allah will forgive his sins. And the Prophet ﷺ in another narration said, if he says this dua and does wudu and prays to Allah, Allah will accept his prayer. In other words, your dua is accepted, everything is accepted. Allah woke you up at that time for a reason. Allahu Akbar. Take opportunity of it.
Say a prayer when you wake up at 2, 3 in the morning.
Mysteries that still can't be explained. This is a lost Egyptian city found by divers in the early 2000s. They were able to retrieve giant statues and artifacts from it. But until this day, scientists have no idea how the city ended up in the middle of the ocean.
Atlantis?
And this is the plain of jars located in Laos. And like the name suggests, there's around a few thousand jars in the ground. Each of them are around 10 feet tall. And scientists have found no real purpose for it. What do you guys think they were used for?
Underground city, man. That sounds like Atlantis to me. Hey.
This 6-year-old boy was forced by his father to run on a treadmill, then he passed away. On April 2nd, 2021, 6-year-old Corey Mitchell was taken to the hospital by his father, 31-year-old Christopher Greger, after he began experiencing shortness of breath and nausea. Corey was immediately taken for a CT scan where he began having seizures and passed away shortly after. Then, disturbing surveillance footage from Christopher's apartment gym was found, which I'm going to warn you, it's really hard to watch. Corey is seen being forced by his father to run on this treadmill at a really high speed. Then you see Corey fall 6 times on his face, and Christopher picks him up by the shirt and puts him back on the treadmill. And then at one point, Christopher is also seen biting Corey's head. Almost 2 weeks after this incident, Corey passed away, and the autopsy showed that this little boy had various injuries on his chest, abdomen, heart, and liver, showing that he was being abused for some time. Corey's mother, who shared joint custody with Christopher, also reported the abuse more than 100 times in 18 months, but nothing was done. Then investigators found a handful of suspicious Google searches on Christopher's phone about bruises, his car being tracked, and being arrested. Christopher is currently being held without bond, and if convicted, he faces life in prison.
The mom was doing her job, reported over 100 times, and nothing happened, man. The system is up and down. You need to find a healthy medium, man. That's just insane.
Let's talk about Jeff the Killer. By the way, this is a creepypasta. He was a 13-year-old boy who had just moved to a new town with his mother and father. And he was already being bullied a lot in horrible ways that I can't even say on this video. One day at a party, the bullying got a little too out of hand. They disfigured him, lighting him on fire and throwing bleach on his face. He woke up in the hospital with his head wrapped in bandages. His eyelids were burnt off. When he took off the bandages, he noticed his face was all leathery and pale. He started laughing uncontrollably, and doctors just played it off as, oh, maybe it's the medicine we gave him, making him a little loopy. He started saying he loved his new face, and he eventually carved a permanent smile in his mouth, because mentally he was broken. He was no longer that nice little 13-year-old boy. That's when he decided to get revenge on the bullies, taking them out one by one.
Sound like the Joker origin, bro. What the hell is that?
This watermelon's good. He even took his family's life. What did they do to you, bro? What did they do? Now it's stated that he comes after anyone who stays up late. This was the last photo someone took of him before he got them. This picture is supposedly cursed.
Leatherface, man. You believe in that? Gotta check that
Have
out.
you guys heard of the man who murdered his co-worker in the Walgreens break room? On June 11th, 2022, 28-year-old Joshua Johnson murdered his co-worker, 17-year-old Riley Whitelaw, in a Walgreens employee break room in Colorado. Riley was discovered in a pool of blood by her manager after she never returned from her break. Joshua attempted to make advances on Riley in the past, and she repeatedly told managers that he made her feel uncomfortable. Riley even asked her managers to change her work shift so she can avoid Joshua, but when she requested additional hours, she was made aware that overtime would mean that her and Joshua may cross paths.
Damn.
3 months before her murder, Riley's boyfriend began working at the same Walgreens, which apparently made Joshua jealous. On the day that Riley was attacked, a customer heard a woman screaming and the sound of very loud slamming. Surveillance footage also caught Joshua stacking bins in front of the camera so that it could block the view before attacking Riley. He was then found by police walking on the street with scratches all over his body.
Crazy, man. Just because she was turning him down. People can't
If
take
you're
no.
alone right now, don't watch this video. In the winter of 2018, a man who was living alone in the mountains wakes up to find a red ball sitting on his front yard. He assumed the only neighbor he had must have kids, and so he kicks the ball over the fence, goes inside, doesn't think anything of it. That night, he wakes up to the sound of kids laughing outside of his window. He goes outside to check on them because it's the middle of the night, and there's no kids anywhere, but that red ball is back on his property. So he picks it up, brings it in his house, and goes back to bed. The next morning, he goes over to his neighbor's house to let them know that their kids were out in his yard in the middle of the night. But it turns out his neighbor is just some old man who lives alone, and there aren't any kids anywhere in the area. That night he wakes up again to the sound of kids on his property, and when he looks outside, there's no kids, but that red ball is back on his property. Panicked, he runs downstairs to make sure the one he brought in is still inside, and it's gone. He checked every window and door, and everything was still locked. It didn't make any sense. He decides to look out the window one more time, and off in the distance is some weird stiff figure watching him.
Haunting story, man. How the hell that red ball gonna
These are
leave?
videos you can never watch at night. We all know how there's some videos where you just can't watch them at night because they're that scary. Well, in this series, I'll be showing you all of those videos. So be ready to get terrified.
Who are you? Let me in. Huh? Let me. What? What's wrong with you?
That's an edit.
What?
Well, I know I'm not sleeping after watching that video. This video has been going viral recently, and nobody knows the origins of it. It shows what appears to be a ghostly woman standing outside of some man's window at night, and she says something took her daughter and did this to her. But nobody knows what that is. The man who uploaded the video hasn't updated anybody on if he's seen her again, or if he's okay, leaving people to worry about him. But I can't imagine looking out my window at night and seeing this.
If you're ever walking and
on
you hear a
that
sound
one.
behind you, look up, for it might be the Gashadokuru. The Gashadokuru are skeleton giants who walk around in the middle of the night. If they see a human, they will quietly walk up behind them, bite off their head, and drink their spraying blood. Soldiers that die on the field and people that die of starvation usually do not have their final rites read. In Japanese culture, that means that their soul cannot pass on and they're reborn as a hungry ghost. When the bones of hundreds of those souls gather together, they become the skeleton monster known as Gashadokuru. If you're a fan of monsters, scary stories, and lore, please support this channel.
It looks like Attack on Titan. Y'all know what I'm talking about, the anime? The Titans?
This photo is of the Cincinnati crawler. It was taken by a family who caught him in their home in 1974, but he escaped shortly afterwards.
In a damn house?
The Johnson family in Cincinnati noticed a couple weird things happening in their home. The 14-year-old daughter, Claire, would complain about seeing glowing eyes outside of her window at night. And then one night, the youngest son, Timmy, was laying in bed in the dark when he felt the family dog jump up onto his bed.
Okay.
But when he went to go pet it, it was not the dog.
No way.
It was the crawler, who police still believe was responsible for the disappearance of 4 other boys in the area.
What the
Some believe that he was an escaped convict, while others actually believe that he was the victim of human experiments happening in the area that may have been conducted by the family's dad.
Say that again?
Claire snapped this photo of him before he escaped, but he was never found since.
Can you guys imagine, man? You at your house. You thinking it's your dog, but it's like a whole human being that's in your damn house, and you had no idea. I ain't gonna lie, man. I'm packing my bags. We moving out the next day. Deuces. I ain't gonna lie. Sell the house. We out. I can't do that. My privacy's already been violated, man. A whole nother human being's in your house, and you had no idea. I can't do that, man. I'm out. What would you guys do, Seekers? We moving out the next day. Simple. No other option, man. I can't do that. I give me the heebie-jeebies, bro.
The darkest YouTube cults of all time. This cult is called Blood Over Intent, and this is how I snuck in. By the way, I'm going back to blonde hair. First, let's go over what happened.
What?
I began searching the internet for Discord servers that had this cult inside of them. Came across some small ones and joined, expecting nothing to happen. A couple hours later, I get a message from a grandmaster of cultists. He didn't ask me if I want to be a part of the cult or if I'm just investigating it. I then say looking to join somehow. He then continues to warn me about the dangers of blood magic. Here's where things become interesting.
Whoa.
He says blood over intent is a real thing. The problem with it is what it costs. By using your own blood, you agree to lose everything you care about. I was 9 years old when I did it my first and last time. What I cared most about were my pets. Not one of them survived. One even died from worms blowing out her belly. I then asked him if his spells have ever harmed humans. He then goes on to say, my spell at 9 years old decimated a family. This is definitely creepy, but like and follow, and I'm going to try and sneak into some more cults.
This homeless...
There's some damn TikTok cults going on. I never even knew that was a thing. I mean, not TikTok, Discord. I know Discord, you can go down a dark rabbit hole, but I didn't think it could be that dark. That's actually insane, man. And he went undercover.
Previously owned by Britney Spears.
He's brave.
On a recent podcast called We Need to Talk About Britney, Britney's former makeup artist joined the conversation. She said that while Britney was living in this home, she had some type of spiritual transformation, and she invited someone over who claimed to be a spiritual healer. But after the healer left, something didn't feel right to her. Britney said she thought the healer had opened some type of portal, and she claimed that there were evil spirits in her house trying to push her down the stairs. The situation must have scared her pretty badly, because she left the home immediately when it happened and never returned. She then sold the house with everything inside to Brittany Murphy. And as many of you probably already know, Brittany Murphy died in that house under very suspicious circumstances. And her husband died 5 months after her in the same room that Brittany died in. Take a listen.
It was so bad that she left. She went to the Casa del Mar Hotel to stay there and never went back to the house again. She put her house on the market, and guess who bought that house? Who? And died in it. Brittany Murphy.
She definitely was feeling some of that energy.
This is a photo of Mike Tyson
crazy.
shaking hands with Dale Hausner, a known serial killer in Phoenix, Arizona who killed 8 people.
What?
Mike Tyson did not know that at the time. He thought he was a sports writer. Police then showed up to Mike's gym and let him know you just shook hands with a serial killer. Mike Tyson had literally no idea. The murders Hausner committed happened from May 2005 all the way up to August 2006. They were described as playing real-life Grand Theft Auto. They would shoot at random pedestrians just walking by and animals, and they would also just set random things on fire and burn it down.
What the
This man committed 80 felonies. I think there are only like 88 possible felonies you can get. This dude almost hit 100% completion.
Rocking them up.
Now this photo behind me was taken just a few days before Hausner was caught. Then when Mike Tyson was interviewed by the police about Hauser, he was like, yeah, seems like a nice guy, smaller stature, completely oblivious to the fact that he murdered 8 people. Super scary to think that people were just walking randomly in the street and getting shot by this guy right here. Glad that's over, glad he's caught. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below, and as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
Man, real life is not GTA. You just can't go down, walking down the street and just take random people out. What's the damn world come to, man? That's actually insane. If it was GTA, man, you would have freaking 5 stars on, bro. That's a crazy ass story. Seekers, if you guys stay with me to the end of the video, you're true seekers seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, man. Also, hit that post notification bell, man, so we can get this algorithm, we can grow. Also, man, follow me on my social medias down below, man. Trying to get my numbers up there as well. We can connect together and grow our community, and that's how you can stay in contact with me. So follow me on my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, Snapchat, all the socials will be down below. Tell me, man, like I said, you guys are liking my new reacting style, man. Also, tell me what I can do to make these videos better for you guys. I'm out. Peace, YouTube. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully, you guys are doing alright, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. We break down scary and creepy videos, man, on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG Reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank my supporters, man, who's tapping into the channel, subscribing, hitting that post notification bell, liking the content, commenting. That really helps us with the algorithm. So if you guys follow those steps, I know, man, we can grow into something special. Found this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Let's seek the truth.
This boy claimed he remembered his past life until his parents discovered he wasn't lying.
Come again?
A Syrian boy named Arius was born with a particular red birthmark across his forehead. As soon as he could speak, he explained to his parents that he had already lived a past life as another man, claiming he was murdered with an axe by his own neighbor. It turns out a man in their village had gone missing years earlier, and the neighbor was the prime suspect. So Arius and his parents went to the neighbor's house to find out the truth. When the neighbor opened the door, he turned white as a ghost, claiming he was innocent. But Arius demanded the neighbor to come with them as he knew where his own body was buried. Arius led them miles from the village to a specific spot under a tree, and they started digging, but you won't believe what they found underneath. They found a skull that was cracked exactly where Arius's birthmark was. Everyone was shocked, and the neighbor was later arrested and sentenced to death.
We believe in reincarnation, seekers? He caught that neighbor like red-handed. You heard when he said he called him. When he opened the door, he looked like he saw a damn ghost. And he said from a past life. That's one of the first cases I've heard of that. He can retain a memory from a past life. We heard about reincarnation before, but that's actually scary, man. That's proof right there. What do you guys think?
This Wisconsin elementary school teacher is being accused of having an inappropriate relationship with an 11-year-old boy.
Always the teachers.
24-year-old Madison Bergman has been arrested for making out with one of her 5th grade students only 3 months before her wedding. This came to light really recently after the boy's mother overheard him talking to his teacher on the phone. So obviously she confiscated his phone and read his text messages where he was discussing several encounters with his teacher where they were having inappropriate encounters during lunchtime or after school. Also in those texts, this adult told an 11-year-old boy how much she enjoyed him touching her. They also exchanged handwritten notes where she told him that she loved him more than anyone else in the world. Madison actually got the 11-year-old's phone number on a ski trip that she was invited on by the boy's parents. And that trip was actually during the same month that Madison got engaged to her boyfriend. They were set to be married this July, less than 3 months before she was arrested for cheating with a literal child. Obviously, the wedding is off, Madison has been barred from attending any school events, being on any school property, reaching out to any students, parents, or staff. This case is still ongoing, and Madison Bergman will appear in court on May 30th.
The most uncomfortable products ever designed. Firstly, this Cinderella car seat was designed to make children quieter in the car, and it looks normal when there's a small child in it. But as they get older, you have to adjust the headrest. And to do that, it ends up stretching her neck like this. This Minion shampoo bottle looks like it would be good for kids. But for the strawberry scented one, they decided to make it bright red. So it looks like blood is coming out of his eyes. Next, a Spider-Man tissue box sounds like a good idea, and we all know the main Spider-Man pose. But whoever decided to put that on a Kleenex box clearly didn't think it through, because it looks like you're pulling tissues out of Spider-Man's butt. Lastly, in the children's hospital, they tried making a pathway that looks like a red ribbon. But instead, it looks like a path left by someone dragging a bloody body.
They do not be thinking these designs through, man. These design flaws, or is it really hidden messaging, man, that we just see with our eyes, but we just throwing it off, man, as, oh, it was just a mistake, man. We've seen these before in these clips, bro. There's always a message behind any picture or video. You gotta pay attention. Edit. We can spot out the edits now, man. We experts at this, seekers. I need you guys to call out the edits with me, man, down below.
Gruesome facts you didn't know, part 283. Looking for a snack? A human tooth contains about 36 calories. In 2011, the manchineel tree was given the title of the deadliest tree in the entire world by the Guinness Book of World Records.
Why?
The fruit that grows on the tree is highly toxic, as well as the sap from the leaves and stems. It is highly advised not to stand underneath one when it is raining, as the dripping water can transfer the toxins, resulting in painful blistering of the skin. A Chinese naval officer blew up an entire naval ship, killing 134 men because of a girl. On March 9th of 1978, a Chinese destroyer ship was rocked by a massive explosion while it was docked. More than 3,000 tons exploded in the water, which lasted almost 2 hours. China first believed it to be the work of Vietnam, but after a lengthy 6-month investigation, they found that the cause of the explosion was from one of their own naval officers. The naval officer named Lai was responsible for the warehouse that stored mines and depth charges. Before he enlisted in the military, he broke off a marriage with a woman he felt was unworthy of him. The girl he abandoned was so distraught that she took her own life, and her parents believed that he murdered her. When the army got wind of the incident, they revoked his position and banished him back to his hometown. But they needed him for a mission, so he wasn't immediately disbanded. But he did greatly fear the ridicule and hate he would get going back to his hometown. It is reported that he locked himself in the Arsenal warehouse and detonated one of the depth charges.
We have to talk about this Venezuelan stalking case. This is Rebecca Garcia, a 32-year-old Venezuelan woman who's seen here just moments after she was caught hiding out in her victim's apartment building. And this week's podcast episode is all about her 7-year reign of terror. Here's a video of that moment where she jumps on the car of a woman that she's been stalking for 7 years named Coco.
Damn.
Fortunately, Venezuelan police told Coco, who's hiding out in this car, that there were no laws to protect women from harassment from other women, so she's never been able to get help. Though over the past 7 years, she has all these videos of Rebecca showing up to her house, harassing her, and then refusing to leave. One time she even woke up to see that Rebecca had come to her apartment in the middle of the night and left messages for her in pink chalk all over the street. And if that wasn't bad enough, Coco eventually found that Rebecca had self-published a book online full of violent fantasies, all about stuff that she wanted to do to her victims, like keep them in windowless rooms without food or water for days on end. So many women in Venezuela have come forward with their stories of Rebecca's harassment that the police finally decided to do something about it. Obviously, there is a lot more to the story, including more victim testimony, so you should definitely check out this episode.
That's crazy, man, that there is no laws put in place, man, you know, in different parts of the world, but that she had to go through that, like a literal start, like, imagine, like, trying to go live your life, like, every single day, but you can't, because once you go outside, this person that's stalking, harassing you is just there all day, but there's nothing the law can do about it. Couldn't live like that. Can't.
According to reports I found online, George Mubayed, who ran the account HairZone700, has recently been arrested for being a pedophile. There are a bunch of sources you can go to find this information online, but this is one of them. So according to these articles and these investigations, George was using his TikTok account to lure minors into his shop. And this was a ring. He was one of the heads of the ring. According to the reports, there were other members that were on TikTok that would actively work to get children into the shop. And they would all then participate in grapes against the children, which would be recorded, filmed, photos would be taken, and these photos would then be sold and posted on the dark web for other pedophiles to enjoy. Now, I did notice that the Hairzone 700 TikTok account is gone, which I thought was strange because it had 700,000 followers. So there has to be some truth to all of this.
That many?
But they do have a Facebook page. I don't know if this is something new or what. And disturbingly, there are photos and videos that are being posted. This one was just posted 2 or 3 days ago, showing the accused man with a bunch of different children. Now, I don't know if these are re-uploads of content or what's going on with all of this, but these are really serious, staggering, disturbing accusations. And it does make sense. I mean, these videos are goofy, they're humorous, they're engineered to entertain children. So I'm going to keep you guys updated on this situation because if you go read the articles, it's especially disturbing. And yeah, I'm going to keep on top of this.
What's the damn whole TikTok ring, man? Like I said, there's good and bad with everything. That's definitely bad right there.
Here's something about SpongeBob you probably didn't know. But you know how they live underwater, yet there's a whole beach for no reason?
Yeah,
we were all like, how is there water underwater? Well, there's actually such a thing as underwater lakes and rivers. In places like the Gulf of Mexico, seawater will often rise through a thick layer of salt that you'll often find at the seafloor. The rising water dissolves the salt layer, causing it to collapse, all while forming a depression. And of course, the dissolved salt makes the water in the depression denser than the seawater surrounding it, which is how you can end up with a river or lake in the ocean. Some of these underwater rivers can actually be a few miles long. And underwater rivers, which are really just a mixture of saltwater and hydrogen sulfide, behave and flow as normal rivers. Now here's where I f*** you up. These underwater brine pools are 3 to 8 times saltier than the seawater around it, which is why animals like this eel that get too close can end up getting toxic shock while getting trapped inside. So in a weird way, it's actually possible for underwater animals to drown inside these brine pools. This eel got lucky, but normally most animals that mess around and get that close don't come out alive. Moral of this video, Hillenburg was a genius.
Don't go to Goo Lagoon or SpongeBob, man. That sounds like a whole death trap.
These two have been holding hands since 1888. In 1842, Colonel Van Gorkum married Josephina Van Efferden, and their union was highly controversial, as he was Protestant and she was Catholic. When he passed away in 1880, he was buried in the Protestant section of the Roermond Cemetery. She knew upon her death she would be buried in the Catholic section of the cemetery, so she made her wishes very clear. She did not want to be buried in her family's tomb. She wanted to be buried as close to her husband as possible. Separated by a wall and religion, their hands have been interlocked in eternal bliss for over 100 years. A grudge taken to the grave. These are the graves of Salvatore Carril and his wife Tibertia. They are located in the Recoleta Cemetery in Buenos Aires. And you might notice they aren't facing each other. Salvatore was a wealthy man, known for political and academic success, as well as becoming the first vice president of Argentina. And his wife loved to shop, opening up credits in dozens of stores across the city under his name, and he warned her to stop. Eventually he had enough, and he posted in several local newspapers that he would no longer honor any credits under his name, and that he was not responsible for his wife's death. As you can imagine, she wasn't very happy, and the couple separated and never spoke again. When she died 15 years after her estranged husband, she requested that her bust be facing away from him, as she never wanted to see him again.
Dang, man, even back in the day, money, man, is the root of all the evil, bro. Cause of all the problems, man, even back in the day. Goes to show you.
When a doctor's decapitated head was discovered, police were horrified at the killer's identity. It was the 2nd of October 2022 in Westminster, Maryland. The wife of Dr. Magambe Pansuria was concerned. She phoned police to tell them there was absolutely no sign of her husband at home. There was, however, disturbing signs of a struggle. She told police there was blood all around the home. There was also a rug that had suspiciously gone missing from the laundry room. Police arrived at the property but wouldn't have to wait long until they heard devastating news. While officers scoured the property, dispatchers had another call. This time it was from a member of the public. The distressed caller was on Medford Road and reported a body lying at the side of the road. The body was dismembered and wrapped in a rug that matched the one that had gone missing from the house. Meanwhile, investigators found blood at the property in the garage and the bathroom. Blood was also found on the road nearby. Then, when the doctor's son, Ravi, came home, more shocking discoveries. He had come back in the family truck, which also contained blood and human tissue. Ravi himself was also found in clothing that had blood on it, and he was found in possession of a bloody hatchet. The blood was ultimately determined to be his father's. Just days later, investigators found his dad's head and hands in a creek. An autopsy confirmed that the victim had been stabbed 45 times. He suffered blunt force injuries to the head. Ravi was ultimately convicted of first-degree murder and was given life in prison without the possibility of parole. A motive for the crime is unknown. The victim was said to be a funny and generous man who loved gardening and had a real ability to connect with others.
This is maybe the scariest.
Man, that'd be your whole family, man. These cases, bro, would be opening my eyes. Like, how sometimes, man, you can't trust nobody in this world except for you. It's the sad truth, but that's the reality we live in, man. Like, but we still don't even know the motive behind it, but to do that to your own father, that's chilling, man.
Biggest marketing campaign I've ever seen for a horror movie. And it's full of terrifying Easter eggs that are freaking viewers out. So on January 5th, Neon dropped a 30-second clip out of nowhere that just features a man calling 911. He says, "It's my daughter, I gotta be quiet, and that's not my daughter." Then it cuts to this chilling image, and then we get this code with no other context. People don't even know what movie this is for at this point. And in general, I cover a lot of dark pop culture stuff, so follow along if you're interested. Then a week later, we get another clip. Again, we have no context for what this is for, but it features someone unearthing something. But it's what is shown next that is freaking people out. It cuts to and holds on this image, which is kind of giving Valak. And Medical Movie Man realized if you brighten it, it becomes truly the stuff of nightmares. But then we get more code and no movie title. Until we get a trailer where it's revealed the code spells out long legs, the name of the movie. And through that, people realized the codes at the end of the other videos all had satanic messages. One said, "Hail Satan," another said, "Hell awaits," and another pointed to a verse in the Bible that mentions Satan. We've gotten a few more clips from Neon, and one of which includes this poem, which I'm still trying to make sense of. That one also ends with the phrase, "daughter of the seventh shade." Some people think this is referring to how the seventh child of a seventh child is important in various occult circles. But mind you, people still don't know what this movie's about at all, other than the marketing materials are probably cursing us, and that Nicolas Cage is in this movie, though we haven't seen him in any of the trailers. Anyways, the movie comes out on July 12th, and it's directed by Osgood Perkins, who is the son of none other than Norman Bates himself.
These are disturbing.
Man, so I'm telling you, man, these freaking movies and TV shows, they like trying to put these hidden messages and trying to put them on the public, so but we just not catching it. Like, they put those messages on just for like a movie trailer, but they put it in code so people couldn't break it down. A movie called Long Legs. It's always in those Hollywood circles, man. They have some, like, some dark energy or dark aura around them. And Nicolas Cage, he's been making a comeback recently in his acting career, so I don't know what to think about that. And he's starring in that movie. It's too many coincidences that I'm seeing right now. I don't like it.
War crimes caught on camera explained, and this is a massive trigger warning. The video that I'm about to explain is pretty disturbing and lasting quite long, coming in at 6 minutes in length. The video isn't an easy watch at all, and some people even believe the video is not real whatsoever. But that hasn't been confirmed or denied. The video appears to be edited together. Some clips are clear and others are blurry. Also, the victim doesn't struggle at all, which is very surprising, especially once you hear about the situation he is in. And besides coughing a couple times, the victim doesn't make any noise at all, even though he is fully conscious. As you play the video, it takes place in a rural location, and you see two men in military gear holding two shovels, standing next to a deep, freshly dug grave. Then you see another two men enter shot, also in military gear, and they are bringing the victim to the grave. Once they get close to the grave, they push the victim into the grave, and the victim's hands are tied behind his back, and he has a bag over his head. After the victim falls into the grave, it's hard to make out, but it's possible the two men holding the shovels next to the grave strike the victim with them. The person filming then gets closer to the scene, and you see the victim lying face first into the grave. He coughs and makes a couple of sounds, but surprisingly doesn't scream once. Two of the men then quickly start shoveling dirt into the grave, while another hops into the grave to duct tape the man's feet together. As the men continue to shovel dirt into the grave, one of them says he's not dead yet. And for the next 6 minutes, the men continue to shovel dirt into the grave until it's completely full. Once the grave has been filled in, a man then stomps the dirt flat before taking a rusty old shovel which he sticks into the ground upside down, and he's using this rusty shovel as a makeshift gravestone.
Buried alive?
He then writes something on the shovel which isn't clear enough to translate, but I would assume it's some sort of insult to the victim or a warning sign to their enemies. Whether the video is real or not is still up for debate, but what's for sure is the video is still extremely awful and disturbing. There's not many worse ways to die than being buried alive. The victim was literally feeling the weight of the earth on him until he suffocated to death. I don't recommend searching for this or watching the video. It's truly just awful.
I never do. I always take his word for it, man, when we see those clips. And I don't need that in my mind. But being buried alive, that's one of the most scariest thing ever.
Bro, I get it. You want to win a game. But what's all this about?
Not Braun, man. What?
Little fishy, if you ask me. Make sure to hit that follow button because tomorrow's video is crazy.
Not
This man injects his ex-lover with HIV and hepatitis when she leaves him.
This is the horrifying case of Janice Turan. In 1994, Janice went to the doctors because she started to feel ill. There, the doctors told her she was pregnant. She also learned she tested positive to HIV and hepatitis. So how did this happen to Janice? Janice had a vague idea who was behind it, and that was her ex-boyfriend. See, Janice was actually having an affair with Dr. Richard. He was a married man and he'd been seeing Janice for several years, promising her that he would leave his wife. But of course, he never did. Dr. Richard was also her personal doctor, so she saw him regularly for many things. Now, actual years have gone by and Janice has had enough. She's decided she's going to leave Dr. Richard. She tells him and he goes ballistic. He threatens to release her nude photos if she leaves. And so the affair actually continues. So Janice gets pregnant with her first child. And guess what? It's Dr. Richards. So he agrees to pay her child support while she has his kid. All whilst promising that he's going to leave his wife and kids, you know, essentially his other family. Now, after tolerating this for a few more years, Janice gets fed up. She gives him an ultimatum. She says, leave your wife or we're ending this affair. Dr. Richard chooses his wife and Janice ends the affair. Now remember, he's also her personal doctor and Janice goes in for vitamin shots every so often. A couple of months after the breakup, Dr. Richard gives Janice a call and says, I'm coming over, you're due for your vitamin shot. This is a little unexpected, but also normal because he gives her vitamin shots. And so he goes over to her house, gives her the shot, and leaves. They literally don't speak again. So Janice tells us the police, and they search Dr. Richard's office, and they find 2 vials of infected blood that he's keeping. He's arrested and charged with attempted murder. He's now serving 50 years in prison. If you want to hear more stories about real-life people, remember to follow. Last week...
Man, that's why you have to be careful going to these doctors, especially, man, these personal doctors or something. If you go to them, you know them, because once the relationships go sour, goes bad, they can do whatever they want, man, to your body. And that was just a prime example, man. Just coming over for a shot. And but he had all that already set up just because he was pissed because she ended the affair because of a choice that he made. He didn't want to leave his wife. He couldn't take it. And then he went to the next level. Gotta be careful, man.
This video went viral showing a group of teens dumping buckets of trash straight into the ocean. And yesterday, those teenagers finally turned themselves in. They've been identified as 15-year-old Charles R. and 16-year-old Michael K. The group was attending the annual Boca Bash event, where hundreds of people gather on their boats to party. A content creator called Wavy Boats starts filming this specific boat because it was speeding away from the event despite the huge swells, and accidentally captures them committing a crime.
4K.
They captured the teens dumping 2 full trash cans filled with bottles, cans, and plastic cups straight into the ocean. And when they noticed the drone filming them, they started celebrating. Both teens have been charged with 1 count of causing pollution, a 3rd-degree felony. They face a maximum of 5 years in prison and a $50,000 fine if convicted. The chairman of Florida's Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission wants the teens to do 500 hours of community service. I think prison time is a little overkill, but if they spend hundreds of hours picking up trash on the beach, they'll probably learn something.
When a man was put in prison for killing his mum, his family should have been safe. Then another member of the family was brutally murdered, but this time by someone else. Just a warning here, this case is absolutely sickening. In 2013, the dismembered body of Tanya Bird was discovered in suitcases in the Bronx. Now, if you haven't already watched my first video on this case, I advise you to go back, watch that video, and then come back to this one. Tanya's son, Basid, was pictured here holding her dismembered head. He was later convicted of her murder and jailed for 25 years to life. However, that was far from the end of the tragedies of this family. While Basid was in prison, another family member was about to be murdered again, but by another family member. Now, as I said in my previous video about this, convicted murderer Basid had a son when he went to jail. This was Zamea Coombs. He was a sweet little boy, aged just 4 in 2017. While his dad was in prison for killing his own mother, Zamea was in custody of his mum, 28-year-old Zara Coombs. She was dating somebody else at this point. She was no longer with Basid. In January 2017, Zara was at home with her little boy when he asked for something to eat. She refused to give him any food, so he took matters into his own hands and went over to the fridge to grab an egg. He then accidentally dropped the egg on the floor. She reportedly became so enraged that she beat him to death with a broomstick. The little boy didn't stand a chance. She then callously put his body in a storage container and carried on with her daily chores, like feeding her little baby. When Zara's boyfriend returned about 20 minutes later, he found the absolutely horrifying scene. He was confronted by the realization that his girlfriend had just murdered her own child. He rang police, they raced to the scene and rushed the little boy to hospital, but it was tragically too late. Shockingly, she was only given 17 years in prison after pleading guilty to manslaughter and endangerment of a child.
This pedophile cop committed one of the worst crimes I've recently read about.
Weird
This is
family.
28-year-old Stephen Kyle Cugini. Stephen previously served with the United States Army, and afterwards he became a police officer in Pennsylvania. So on Monday, April 15th, 2024, after the 13-month-old baby that he was caring for was dropped off at daycare, the employees there noticed that the baby was badly injured, and they reported it to authorities. I'm just going to read this to you. The baby was taken to the hospital then for her broken tibia, fibula, bruising on her face, ears, left foot, ankle, butt, and genitals. And the doctor noted, quote, significant injuries to the genitals. But this was complicated. You see, at first the 13-month-old baby's mother tried to cover for her boyfriend. She claimed that the family's dog had caused the injuries and this was nothing more than diaper rash. However, she would soon make a disturbing admission. On Saturday, April 13th, this woman had let Stephen give her 13-month-old baby girl a bath. Apparently, Stephen told her that he had locked the bathroom door to keep her 5-year-old son out, but soon the mother heard her daughter, quote, cry very loudly and, quote, repeated pounding. She then went and knocked on the door, and it took 10 seconds for Stephen to open up. And when he did open the door, she noticed that his shirt was soaking wet. So, based on the injuries, authorities then arrested Stephen Kyle Cugini, but he immediately tried to claim that all this is a misunderstanding. This was just diaper rash. He said that he had seen the same diaper rash in his 2 own twin daughters. That's right, to add insult to injury in this terrible situation, Stephen actually had 2 kids of his own. This is his LinkedIn profile. You can even see down here, he says, I am also a father of twin daughters. I don't even want to know what happened there. Thankfully, though, Stephen has been arrested and he's expected to face charges for all of this. But it always blows my mind how respectable people like Stephen, a guy who was in the United States Army, a guy who took an oath to protect and serve people of this nation, how someone like that can do such a depraved, disgusting, disturbing thing. And if you want to hear more true crime stories, listen to the podcast Murder in America that I co-host with my wife Courtney. It's available on all streaming platforms.
It's crazy. I was always like a person in authority or something like that, man. If they teach you, or somebody who's in the damn army. like he said, your job was to, to protect and serve, and he was doing the complete opposite of that. On the head of the mom, she was trying to cover her, man. What was going through people's minds? Like, they see they're caught, man. They just come up with all these sorts of lies, man, just to try to cover it up. It's too late, man. You guys stay with me to the end of the video. You're a true seeker, seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, we're doing daily uploads, so in order for me to continue to do that, I need you guys to hit that like button, subscribe, comment down below, man. Like I said, it just helps the algorithm, so I really appreciate the support. Follow me on my social medias, man, so we can always stay connected on with our community. Guys, gonna catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace, seekers. What's up, seekers? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing all right, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. We break down scary, creepy videos, man, on the net, on the web, man, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, man, anything weird, usual, and unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank the supporters, man, who's tapping into the channel, hitting that subscribe button, man, hitting that post notification bell, man. You're helping us grow in the algorithm, man, helping us find other seekers. I really appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. So let's take a look. Let's explore. Let's do what we do best, man. Seek the truth.
I teach you 4 ways that you can hack your body.
Okay.
Number 1, if your arms ever fall asleep, just shake your head like this and it will go away like nothing. Number 2, if you really have to go to the bathroom but there's no place to go, just scratch the back of your calf as hard as you can. This will actually stall your brain and you will forget you ever had to go.
Whoa.
Number 3, if you ever have trouble falling asleep, just blink your eyes as fast as you can for 1 minute. This will tire out your eyes and make it easier for you to fall asleep. Number 4, if you ever want to activate night vision, go on your phone in a dark room and cover your eye for 30 seconds. Then look around and enjoy being Superman.
People are freaking out after 9 pillars of light were seen in the sky above a coastal town in Japan recently. And it wasn't just one picture. These 9 lights were seen from multiple different angles. So, what the hell is that? Well, the man who originally posted the photo said that it's actually a rare natural phenomenon called fishing firelight pillars. And he said that it's caused by powerful lights placed on fishing boats to attract larger catches. As temperatures cool overnight, crystals sometimes form in the air, and then the boat's lights reflect off of the crystals, creating this. So just as simple as aliens, is it?
This man followed a teen and her grandmother who were on a trail, and then he took their lives. In 2021, a 17-year-old Hera and her grandmother, 78-year-old Sanetta, were found deceased in their home in Largo, Florida. Earlier that day, Hera and her grandmother went on a walk on the Pinellas Trail not too far from their house. On their way home, 19-year-old Sage Curry followed them to their house. He waited for the sun to go down before entering their home through the bedroom window. Sage then went into the kitchen and looked for the sharpest knife he could find and used that to attack the grandmother as she slept. Hera ran into the room after hearing her grandmother scream, and she was also stabbed to death. What's insane is that there was no relationship between the victims and Sage. He literally did this for absolutely no reason. His family said that his mental health declined after his 18th birthday and he became delusional, so much that he couldn't tell fiction from reality and believed that TV shows he watched were real. While he sat in jail, he got this moon tattooed on his forehead, which referenced a TV show character who had DID. Sage also got one of the victims' names tattooed on his ankle. In court, he really tried to use the insanity defense, but that was rejected. Sage was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Just sense this. Seekers, man, we believe in vampires. They had some gear. The mummified vampire face. I don't know if that's edited or something like that, but looks pretty kind of legit to me. Vampires. That's what about if we get top fears, man? Heat vampires. They just weird me out. Should we deep dive into that one? Who knows?
To
disturbing facts that will ruin your life. When whales reach a certain age, they will eventually be too weak to swim back to the surface for air, so they will just suffocate to death and eventually sink to the bottom of the ocean.
Whoa.
When you die, you will be aware that you were dead until the moment your brain fully ceases function. When getting laser eye surgery, you can smell the parts of your eyes being shaved down. During the French Revolution, where the guillotine was introduced, the people to be executed fought to be first, as the blade would dull after multiple uses and wouldn't cut a head clean off at the first attempt. If you're male, after you die, your loved ones can have a doctor electrocute your prostate to force you to ejaculate for sperm. Humans have enough bite power to bite off their own finger, bone and all. The only thing stopping us is our brain's natural safety factor. A deceased human body can take between 24 to 48 hours to decompress, releasing the remaining blood, urine, and fecal matter, depending on the situation, position, and method of death. If you die on a submarine, they put your body in the fridge with all the food. If not, up a torpedo tube. It's actually common that corpses will periodically burp, fart, gasp, groan as gases escape to the mouth and anus. When you get burned by electricity, it actually leaves marks shaped like lightning on your skin. Hit the plus sign if you want to learn more facts.
The more you know. I learned some new information today. Definitely. It's crazy, especially about that one when you're on the submarine. Don't eat the food of the sub. You don't know where it's been at. We getting some quick cases, they ain't even coming up.
Tips that could save your life one day. When you go into a bathroom or changing room, make sure no one's looking at you using a two-way mirror.
Whoa.
A two-way mirror means that someone on the other side could be looking at you. But there's an easy way to tell the difference. Put your finger on the surface of the mirror. If there's a gap between your finger and its reflection, then you're safe. But if there isn't, then it's a two-way mirror. If you're in an emergency and need to get to one floor straight away without any stops in an elevator, here's what to do. Press the close door button and the floor you want to go to. Keep holding them down until you reach that floor. This will bypass any stops, and it's often used by emergency services. What if you're driving a car and suddenly you fall into water? You won't be able to open your car's door because of the water pressure closing it shut. You actually need to roll down your window. This will allow some water to go into the car. The pressure will then equalize and the doors will open automatically and you can swim out.
I never knew about the elevator
There
fact.
used to be a nearly 20-foot bulletproof serial killer whose victims included humans and hippos. Gustav was a Nile crocodile from Burundi, and scientists estimated that he was over 18 feet long and weighed well over 2,000 pounds. And with a bite force of 3,700 pounds, getting attacked by him was like getting assaulted by a sledgehammer with teeth. Because Gustav was too big to hunt the usual victims like zebra and antelope, he instead put wildebeest and yes, even hippos on t-shirts. He also likely resorted to cannibalism if he was ever low on groceries. And he didn't stop there, because this overgrown Bundy gecko allegedly had a body count of about 300 people. And apparently Gustav would tear his victim to pieces and not even eat the mutilated corpse. Bro was real life stat patty. And wouldn't you know, the bastard was bulletproof, since one of Gustav's defining traits was that he had 3 bullet scars on his body. But the scariest thing about him is how he would have gone about taking your life. Like all crocodiles and alligators, Gustav would have slowly creeped on you in the water with only his eyes visible. The rest of his body would be hidden in the murky water. Then he would have slammed his jaws on you with the force of a car, strong enough to tear muscle and break bone, and at this point you'd be 50 shades of with about 60 teeth buried into your flesh. 2,000-pound Gustav would have dragged you underwater and death rolled you, and how long you lived would depend on where he got you. If he managed to get a hold of your arm, he would have effectively ripped it right out of the socket. If he got your midsection, he would have disemboweled you, meaning if you didn't straight up drown, you would have bled out. And if you messed around and let him grab your neck, he would have barrel rolled your head off. Remember how I said he turned 300 people into hashtags? Considering how violently crocodiles kill their prey, it could be more, we just haven't found the bodies yet. Scientist Patrice Faye spent months trying to capture him, but somehow a nearly 20-foot assault weapon managed to avoid them every time. Gustav allegedly died in 2019, but we don't know how, why, or who did it, and we don't know how many lives he took with him.
That's a damn dinosaur. That ain't no crocodile. It's crazy how they can grow to that size. I saw another one on Twitter, and it was even like bigger than that one. What's going on in nature, man? Something going on.
Oh, you're so traumatized. It makes me want to.
What haunted?
Things that are way bigger than you think. Part 3. This is a human hand compared to an eagle's talon. To put that into perspective, they could probably pawn a full face. This is what the world's tallest man ever would look like standing next to Shaq. Shaq is 7 feet 2 inches tall, and the world's tallest man ever was 8 feet 11. That red line is where the average American would be. Moose are a lot bigger than you think. Some of them could grow to be almost 8 feet tall off the ground. And finally, this is how big a traffic light is. I don't know what you're gonna do with this knowledge, but if you learn something, leave a like and maybe even a follow.
It really goes to show you, man, how I guess proportions really work, or how distance really affects us, man. Because especially about the red, you know, the red, white, yellow, the red, yellow, and green stoplight. So looking at it from afar, you would think that it's actually small, but go close, it takes up like half our size, man. Goes to show you about how distance, how it changes things. I just find that interesting.
The video I'm about to show you is a reason why you should never go camping.
Yo, what the fuck is that? Oh, what's... Run!
Oh, hell no.
Guys, wait!
What the Oh, he out.
What do you think that is? Do you believe that it's a skinwalker? Or maybe it's the rake? Let me know in the comments below. Also, check me out on YouTube for more spooky crap. Link in bio.
What's the rake?
Let's talk about skinwalkers. They are said to be powerful witches and medicine men. They can even change their form to any animal they desire, including humans. But they mainly change into deer, wolves, and coyotes. The scary part is they say if you see one, they can steal your face and even your last scream for help. You might think this is like a folklore or tale. People actually believe these are real. The scary part is there's actual videos of people seeing oddly walking humans screaming help in the middle of nowhere.
Oh.
See, they say skinwalkers pretend to be humans in distress, and if they're calling out for help, they're just trying to lure you in. That's when they take your life and use your voice and your look to catch their next gullible victim. A man's wife wasn't even home, but yet somebody was calling him to come downstairs in his wife's voice.
Oh, no, I'm out that house. Deuces. We out. I can't lay there no more. Not an option.
If you want me to go out in the middle of the field, at least shapeshift to look like Rihanna or Beyonce. I'm making a mess, but this look good. I'll be there in a minute. 30 seconds flat. Naked. Very naked. Maybe even Lizzo. Let's light this candle.
Most disturbing websites in the world. This picture contains a list of disturbing websites from the least scary to the most. View at your own risk. Today we're going to be starting from tier 4 since the other ones I posted got removed. The first website is theblackvault.com. This website contains 2 million unreleased documents from the government. The creepiest part about it is there's an entire section dedicated to the supernatural. For example, while I was browsing, I found an article related to skinwalkers. And many people who posted this photo mysteriously had their post taken down. Another website is called kekma.net. You guys didn't trust me last time, but do not look this up. I'm only talking about this one because it's on the list. Make sure to like and follow for tier 5 tomorrow because tomorrow is where it gets real.
Those tier lists, man. Where they say they found us some info where it has the UFOs and stuff like that. I don't know if I should check that out or not, but it's kind of crazy how all those sites that was on there. He said there was some more that even got banned, so we don't know where those was gonna lead to. You guys gonna check out those site seekers? Found out some info? I don't know. He said he did. I guess you gotta be careful going on those sites. You're going down a dangerous rabbit hole. Giants?
The sword you showed was the sword of Wallace. And as the name suggests, it belonged to William Wallace, a Scottish knight from the 13th century. The length of the sword is 5'4", suggesting either that William himself was over 6'5", or the sword was not meant to be used on horseback, but rather on foot against cavalries, or it simply wasn't actually his sword. As for those giant remains, I don't think I need to explain this, but it's Photoshop. The creator of this image is called Miss Presto or something like that on YouTube. You can find more of their work.
He's debunking those joints
I
for
didn't
us.
ask for this, so I think that it's time to show who I am now.
What?
December 23rd, 2022, one day before her birthday, 22-year-old Jacqueline Durand was approaching the house she had been hired to dog sit at. She wasn't taking classes at the University of Texas in Dallas. A sign the homeowners had above the entrance would give an ominous warning, one that would go unnoticed. And so Jacqueline walked right into what would become a living nightmare. Immediately after entering the front glass door, and before she could even close the actual second front door, the two dogs in the home, a German Shepherd named Lucy and a pit bull named Bender, rushed directly towards Jacqueline, violently bringing her down to the ground, causing her to drop her cell phone, and then dragged her from the front door all the way into the kitchen. At this point, the two large dogs pinned her down and mauled her face, ripping off her ears, nose, cheeks, and lips to the bone. These dogs were actually so violent and bloodthirsty that they ripped apart and tore off all the articles of clothing that Jacqueline was wearing. Now, fortunately, because Jacqueline was not able to actually close that second front door, it triggered a home security alarm. And so eventually, local police showed up to the property, as seen in this footage.
I see her feet right there.
First responder body camera video shows the two dogs who attacked her holding the police at bay.
Once police made their way inside, Jacqueline was ultimately rushed to a nearby hospital and underwent multiple operations. The first one, which was an emergency surgery, lasted 7 hours, and she had to be resuscitated on the operation table multiple times. Now, the couple that owned these two dogs, Ashley Joe Bishop and Avery Bishop, offered no help and no financial assistance to her whatsoever. Since this incident, Jacqueline acquired a lawyer, and this couple has been served a lawsuit. Also, the two dogs involved in this attack were ultimately ordered by a judge to be euthanized. Jacqueline says to the public she does not want to be seen as a victim and only an example to other dog owners to know your dogs, take more precaution, and just be careful.
Okay, so I've been...
Man, that case is chilling. Like, they were freaking like you said, those dogs were freaking bloodthirsty, man. And I don't know what the heck they were training those dogs to do or something like that, but that's crazy that those dogs were acting like that, man. Look what happened. Man. Bones in the case.
Been on an Alexi Treviso kick lately because her trial is on August 26th, which is pretty much right around the corner, so we got to get her trending again. Before I go further, I want to say that if you're not seeing my face in this video, you're not watching it from my page. Unfortunately, there are a lot of fake accounts that have been stealing my audio and putting it with their own videos. So anyway, let's get into it. This Facebook belongs to Rosa Rodriguez, who is Alexi's mother. She posted on April 10th of this year, balloon release for my beloved baby Alex with a peace dove. And it looks like that balloon there is also in the shape of a dove. Now, just like with everything else regarding this family, I don't understand this at all. Like, Rosa, your beloved grandson, baby Alex, would most likely still be alive if your daughter hadn't put him in a trash can and not asked a single person for help. Or you. The couple times you were outside that bathroom door checking on her, she easily could have said, "Hey, Mom, I'm in here having a baby. Can you come help me because I don't know what to do?" She literally tried to hide him from everybody, including you. And yes, there have been inconsistencies from the hospital staff in their statements, but the fact still remains that she went into the bathroom alone, she birthed the baby alone by her own choice, and she didn't ask a single person for help. She didn't pull that cord, she didn't ask you, nobody. And then she came out of that bathroom and didn't say a single word about it. And there's a good chance that had she asked for help, he might still be alive, and he'd be about 1.5 years old, running around your yard, blowing bubbles, and doing all the fun things that little toddlers do. But hey, y'all continue to support Alexi while acting heartbroken over the loss of your beloved baby Alex, because that makes sense.
Did you see this guy who went missing for filming a TikTok of this like mountain, and in the distance on top of the mountain you see this giant, like this huge creature walking on top of it? This is a real story. Yeah, it's real.
What?
So in this video, this guy named Luke Nichols was actually just driving on the road, and in the distance he sees this giant creature walking on top of the mountain. Like, it's huge, you could tell. And after he caught the giant, he went back 3 days later to the same location to see if he was there, and the giant was gone, showing that it was actually real, and it wasn't like some kind of structure or like a tree. There was actually someone there. So whatever this is, it must have moved. Yeah, and what's really scary is that people that live in the town have also said they've seen the giant, and they actually found in some caves in the area these drawings of the giant. There's drawings? Yeah, so Luke Nichols started trying to find this giant, and when he went back to the area, he saw a UFO in the sky, and he started filming it. But when he wanted to get closer to the UFO, all of a sudden this car started following him, and then he started making videos about how the CIA is trying to follow him. And what? Yeah, so he found something. That either he wasn't supposed to see, he was just making it up. I don't know. Dude, that's scary.
Believe that? You say you saw something and the CIA was following him? That wouldn't be the first time we heard something like that. So we gotta keep an open mind.
Scary Videos Part 9. Friends start playing with a Ouija board when all of a sudden this happens.
Oh my god! It's over!
Did this man sell his soul to become a magician?
What the fuck?
Can you see the shadow? The shadow of your hands? Of my hands? Can you see the shadow? Look at that juicy chicken. A man's finger gets pulled back by something while he's holding a cat.
This video from March 2016 exposes
Magic.
Diddy beating up his ex-girlfriend Cassie, and after it became public, he's now apologizing.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you gotta do that. I was fucked up. I mean, I hit rock bottom. But I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it, I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy, go into rehab. I had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
This video shows Cassie trying to leave a hotel room they were staying at in LA after Diddy punched her in the face, giving her a black eye. When Cassie was almost at the elevator, Diddy noticed and went after her and attacked her. And let's not forget that before this video became public, Cassie and a few other women accused Diddy of abuse, but he denied everything and said that these women were only looking to get paid out. Now, the crazy part about this is that despite having this video as evidence, at this point, Diddy cannot be charged with any of this. The DA explained that their hands are tied due to the statute of limitations, meaning that since this attack happened in 2016, that was a long time ago, and legally, they can't prosecute Diddy. The infamous...
That Diddy and Cassie case that's going on right now. Well, yeah, that's going on with Diddy's crazy, man. Like, the evidence came out 4K. I remember when... I guess when Cassie and them came out, how people At first, you know, they wanted hard evidence to come out. Now that it's out, man, it was a domino effect. LeBron James unfollowed him. Steph Curry unfollowed him. It seemed like all the higher ups, man, I guess they like staying away from him now because he got caught, man. The evidence is in hand. People weren't believing Cassie, but now they did. But now they are. Goes to show you, man. And there's more stories that's like about Diddy coming out. I don't know what's gonna happen.
The girl in the box case has a scary new update. She was kidnapped and left in a box for 7 years, and the man responsible could be getting out of prison very shortly. It was the 1970s. 20-year-old Colleen Stan was planning on going from Oregon to California to attend a friend's birthday party, but that day her car didn't start. So she decided to hitchhike, which was a lot more common then than it is today in 2024. It was a long trip, but she hitched a ride from multiple cars and everything went smoothly and it took her as far as they were going. Then a car full of rowdy young men pulled up next to Colleen and offered her a ride, and she just kind of got bad vibes and declined the ride. In the next car to pull up and offer Colleen a ride was a family. A young married couple and their little baby. What could be safer than that? So Colleen accepted and got in their car, and it would be a terrible mistake. Because that married couple was Cameron and Janice, and they had an agreement that Cameron could abduct and keep a young girl. Cameron kept Colleen in a box for years, only letting her out to cook or clean or be SA'd by him or be hurt. Pretty much just to fulfill all of Cameron's sick desires. Cameron was actually able to convince Colleen that a huge underground organization called The Company was behind all of this, and if she ever tried to leave, her and her family would get hurt, and that Colleen was essentially his property now. He had her completely brainwashed. Eventually, he even let Colleen call her family and took her to visit them, pretending to be her fiance. He would let her go jogging, work at a hotel, because he knew that he had complete control over her. And the wife, Janice, was already pretty jealous about how much time her husband was spending with Colleen. So when Cameron came to her and said, "Hey, I want to abduct more girls and keep more girls," Janice had enough. Janice went to Colleen and told her that the stuff about the company was a total lie and actually let her escape after 7 years in captivity. And then she turned her husband in. This really pisses me off, but let me know your opinion. Investigators never charged Janice with anything because they saw her as a victim of Cameron's as well. But Cameron was found guilty and sentenced to 104 years in prison. But he's recently been fighting for his release. And in August of this year, so just a few months, he has a hearing. He's going to sit in front of a jury and try to show them that he's not a threat to society anymore. And if he does it successfully, he will be getting out of prison very, very shortly.
I don't know, man. That sounds like a dangerous man. I don't know if they should even try to let him out. The fact that the wife ain't getting no charges because she, I guess, got jealous. That's what made her step up and decide to stop that. Crazy ass case. If you guys stay with me to the end of the video, you're truth seekers seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, make sure you guys hit that like button, man. Follow me on my social medias, man, so we can stay connected as a community. I really appreciate the support, man. We're doing these daily uploads. Hopefully you guys, man, enjoy them. I know I enjoy making these videos, man, just trying to get the truth out there. You guys gonna catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.